Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Resolute SMP. I am Duke, and I am back at the spawn house location, because all of a sudden I've fallen partially behind. Who would have thought? I don't know. I wasn't expecting this to happen. But in the matter of about a day, actually less than that, probably like an 18-hour span, 2 more spawn houses were put up, and I was not one of them. I thought I would be, but I'm not. Just over there is Knightfox's spawn house, and I think I'm okay with showing that because his video should be out by now. Just over the trees is a different house, and that's not Nate's. No. Nate is still out in the middle of the wilderness, digging out some dirt for the sake of a future village. No, that is our newest member, FQQD Tech. We call him Food occasionally because it's what his name looks like, but it's not. It's FQ. So you may hear both. He is our in-house German. Figured we ought to expand the server overseas, and we're very, very pleased to have him. So if you have not already checked out, down in the description below, you should be able to find his channel link and go see how his first episode turned out. He built that with a really cool replay mod time-lapse. And as a matter of fact, today's episode then falls under me for creating my own spawn house. I have had this blocked out for a while now, and I've gone through the process of gathering quite a bit of resources. However, I haven't done anything with it yet because I keep getting sidetracked in these episodes and enjoying other things instead, which is great. Don't get me wrong, I love that. But I feel like I've also explained that I'm gonna start building this for like maybe 3 episodes now, and we're just now getting around to doing it. So, you know, that's how things work on Dukester Games. We have a lot of fun, but now it is time to actually settle down and get something done. You know, let's be productive. So you laid out a little bit of a mock-up of kind of our building palette because I wanted to get a better idea for what this is going to look like in kind of a survival world. I planned this out, at least part of the build, in a creative test world, which I understand many people do, and I am one of those people now, and I think there's a lot to be said about doing something like that. But you'll quickly see I've really only designed the front of the building, so there's a considerable amount of space in the back that basically has nothing. As I say that pretty much means that's what we're getting to today's episode. We're gonna do the front facade, and hopefully FQ and Knightfox think that it's complete, but secretly the whole backside will be just empty. We'll get around to it. But this is our choice of material here. You can see I have 4 different green blocks pulled. Initially, I really wanted to work with a lime and green terracotta mix, but when you just have the terracotta, you don't really have any strong texture, and because of that, it kind of looks just too smooth, and there's just not enough gradient or detail going on. So we added in some green wool and some moss blocks. So again, using more of a natural block that doesn't necessarily, well, I guess terracotta is natural, but moss is just something that I typically, back in the day, would not have considered as a part of this building palette, but now I'm going to try. We're also going to be using a lot of the copper for the roof, and of course, I do believe this dark oak wood just goes so well with green. So that's what we're going to be doing, and if you notice, Knightfox actually has used a little bit of copper in his roof as well, and there's a little bit of oxidation already going on. As you may notice, I have gathered a little bit of honeycomb from our bees over at the swamp. So, of course, here's the pier that we used a lot to gather on a ton of fishing material recently. It's something I've been absolutely loving, and sorry, Nate, I may have forgone. I may have just completely passed up the whole idea of using the zombie spawner because now I just fish all the time and get my XP that way. But you'll see right above my head, Dan Diego. It finally happened. The big billboard that said San Diego for a couple weeks now reads Dan Diego. I did not do that. I believe I know who did. Alright, so I've begun to construct the walls here, and you'll very quickly see that for the most part I am just sticking with lime terracotta throughout the majority of this while we kind of get it set up. And that is intentional, because I feel like in this kind of gradient that I'm going for, it's situations like this where you end up with a lot of the different textured blocks all in one place, because it almost looks more like a deterioration of the very clean, pristine, smooth texture of lime terracotta. Then you start to bring in, oh, maybe it actually is moss, or maybe there's some growth on the house, or there's cracks or breaks along the way. I'm going for something here that looks like it's been around a little while, and that is kind of the tricky part when deciding what shade of copper to use. You know, whether I really just go for something that is very clean and bright with just the typical bright orange copper, which doesn't even exist anymore. It's already all oxidizing. That's probably what's going to happen. I'll wax a little bit of it and then it won't. Although maybe Knightfox did wax his, because it's been bright orange ever since. I don't know. But we also have this really cool wraparound porch right here that I am quite excited to showcase here. If we go on over to our wood chest, I hope I have some acacia. I do. Actually, we have some more trapdoors. Hello! Speaking of Knightfox, there he is. If we come on over here, we're going to create a number of different trapdoors in this build, which, again, is something that I'm going to continuously try, because I feel like I very much so stick for just the good old spruce trapdoors or the normal oak trapdoors, and I don't venture too much into other things. We'll see how it all turns out eventually. But I am using the acacia trapdoors again as railing because I believe that works quite well. However, we are also using dark oak trapdoors in this situation underneath our kind of elevated deck. And the idea is that kind of looks maybe a little bit like the mesh that you'd see under porches. I felt like it was a pretty good texture for something like this, and maybe you'll understand it a little bit more as we go. Maybe it doesn't fully represent what I'm going for there right now. It's a possibility. Either way, we're going to bring this along here, and if we throw our acacia trapdoors along the outside, oh, not like that. We want the metal piece out because when we fold it up, then it'll be at the top. I guess that's what that gray piece is, right? That's kind of symbolizes perhaps like an iron handle on an otherwise wooden trapdoor. So if we do assume that these are rusted trapdoors as they are, then I think it actually works. Also, love how trapdoors works here rather than fences, because we're allowed to have a 3-block wide gap with a space here that's not interrupted. So one thing you may end up seeing a lot in this build actually is the fact that for the most part I've used 2 layers of wall for the entirety of this project, which means we're going to go through a lot of lime terracotta, but hopefully it provides us the ability to actually detail this out in a way that I've never done before. And one of those ways are the windows specifically. So although this was the initial wall that we had laid out, the placement of the panes actually goes back here. And I did that because if we bring that up one more, actually we're going to need to jump up here and do that again. So I'd like to just kind of top this off so it all makes sense. Probably could have left that. Either way, because at this level we have practically the start of the next floor, and in front of this we're going to bring in more of the orange in the acacia stairs this time. So we have the sill that faces us directly, whereas the header is facing like this, which creates a little bit of an arch even though the windows themselves cannot arch. We're also going to bring in more trapdoors like this on either side to just kind of frame out the window itself, but also provide a little bit more color that brings this all together. And very similarly, we're doing the same in the entrance door. So we're going to have more acacia trapdoors that sit in through here, like so. And then at the very top, more acacia stairs that kind of face like that. And to create a real grand door experience, oh, that was placed on the wrong block. Put these there. And then we're going to put trapdoors of the same type of door above it. And in doing so, because the textures are so similar and they fill up basically the same amount of block, if you take a step back, you read that all as one, which is nice. And it just gives the idea that this is some sort of grand door that you're leading into a big manor that you'll have here. So as you see, basically every wall that we get set up will end up stepping back. So it'll be a little bit tighter on the inside than you'd think, but because we've built in 2 layers of wall, that'll give us a little bit more room to play around with, and I'm kind of excited to see how that turns out. So now begins the part that I'm not necessarily concerned about, but I could see taking this build from something that is pleasant in a way and all of a sudden making it a little risky, and that is simply just the introduction of these unwaxed copper blocks in here, because I'm honestly testing some things out, and I understand that, well, it might not necessarily go perfectly as planned, and with copper and with this bright green, we're making some very, very bold choices. And bold choices are fun because when they work out, it's like, yeah, okay, that is great. However, on the other hand, if they do not work out, then I'm going to potentially have a giant heap of bright orange and bright green right outside of the commercial district. So we'll see how things go. I'm excited to see how this transitions as it oxidizes. But we might actually use the honeycomb on a little bit of it just to kind of preserve maybe a piece or two and just give it that chance to be this bright and in your face, because I think there's a lot that can be said about legitimately. That actually scared me, by the way. I was not prepared for that ding. Typically I would be, but and we're not going to get a whole perspective of how this is going to look just yet. And that's bright orange. That is bright orange, especially with the shaders. I almost kind of wanted to oxidize a little bit just so it matches this a bit, because that first stage of oxidation that's at right now, you really start to get the green, which matches this a lot better. Then again, the very bright in-your-face copper more so matches the acacia wood for both the fences, the trap doors, and the stairs. So we'll see. We're trying things. This is the necessary steps in coming up with a new style, is to be willing to go down a path that you might actually hate. Because every now and again you land on something you really like. Or so I'm told, because again, I'm also the guy who, as I've mentioned, I like my stone and wood builds. So this is new. So it looks like we have an Enderman who placed a grass block on a pile of dirt, and now this whole cave has a little bit of greenery. That's fun. So, with the foundation of the home, I have opted actually for just typical mud. I considered packed mud in brown mushroom block, more similar to what we did with the work shed, but I'm leaning more towards a mud here because I believe that contrast is nice. It's harsh. It really separates where you have the living space and then to where the actual foundation is. And I think how a foundation looks and presents itself, you know, determining how a build meets the ground plane that it's on, tell a lot about a build. And I think in this case, we're going to have something that seems heavy and it's like really firm and grounded. Even though it doesn't give us the opportunity to work with stairs or slabs as if we use dark oak all the way around or packed mud or something, we're also able to tie in a couple different textures with the muddy mangrove roots as well as glow lichen, which I think this glow lichen will work pretty well with the copper once it starts to oxidize a little bit. It might clash a little bit right now, but I think as we get some more texture on here, because again, all this lime terracotta will slowly blend in with the green and the green wool and moss, you know, as our build palette first came up with. But we are saying a couple other little things as we have here. So as you notice below each of the windowsill, because of how the stairs go, you do get to see a little bit of the build out below. And in this case, that's going to be replaced with mud. However, right here, I have opted for using some stripped dark oak wood because I believe it looks like a little bit of a welcome mat. It's kind of framed out that way and works as a fairly good transitional piece between the two spaces rather than just carrying the dark oak slabs all the way out. So I've thought about things a little bit here, and I think we're going to go a slightly different way. This might actually work. Oop, I opened up my door that I anticipated. If we take a step back here, and this is going to work really well because it's going to be nighttime, and you get to see some of the fun colors because of the shaders. If we look, you'll notice I have begun changing something very up front, and that is the window color from clear to black. And I believe I like this. I'm interested in hearing what everybody has to say, but here are my main reasons. With the clear glass, you really focus on the breaks because it's not a fully connected texture. And I understand that not everybody will have the opportunity to have it fully connected. So when you look at the black windows, you kind of diminish that. There's not as high contrast value, and because of that, the window itself kind of sits back and puts more emphasis on what's in front of it. Additionally, I kind of have this feeling that the black windows, in a sense, almost give like a real mysterious feeling with this house. And I think, I mean, there's more to it. We'll have more detail here. And of course, well, I guess I've only decided the front thus far, and anything is due to change. So naturally, it's going to get even more crazy. But for just how it looks right now, I think you want to put more emphasis on the facade because there's a lot of stuff going on here. Yet the windows being put in the background, it's going to feel more of a haunted manor than anything thus far. We're running out of copper as well, so it's kind of good that I said I wasn't going to get this whole thing done in today's episode. Because I won't, but there's still a little bit more I'd like to do before we fully wrap up today. But one other thing is I'd like to point out how similar this porch is. And I need some opinions here because this is one of those things where I could see it going both ways. On one side, oh, hello. On one side, the house has a lot of variant in the front, right? Like you have multiple different towers and there's the porch on one side and that takes a step back. On this side, it doesn't necessarily do that. So having this long span of porch is kind of nice because when you sit here, when I have chairs, when you sit here, you'll have a nice view of Knightfox's place and hopefully the town hall and such going forward. That being said, there's something kind of interesting about having it like really eclectic and just a lot going on. So we'll see if there's need for a moment of just peace and repetition as we progress this. I think that's kind of what's going to end up happening. And these spiders are angry today. Thank you. Look at that. Looting 3 will get you all the spider eyes you'd ever want, which is 0, but now I have 5. Anyways, I'm going to finish out a little bit more detail on the roof and such. Also, I haven't talked about how many diamonds I was collecting in this episode because, you know, the whole idea is to have a stack per episode. There's the staircase in the community mineshaft. Is this real life? Like, I honestly think if I just have you guys for like 10 more seconds, we're gonna find something. Because I have never once had this kind of luck before. I was playing, well, okay. So Nate is on, and I was listening to some Bad Company, the song Shooting Star. And I know Nate loves that kind of music. So it's like, Nate, you're a fan, right? During that song, all of these were collected. And of course, now that I mention it, we're not going to find any more. But I don't even know what to say. That is probably the craziest batch I have maybe ever seen in my life. I think I got really lucky, and there were a couple clusters that spawned like on top of each other. So really, I was only finding the typical amount, but because of that, when I mined through to one, you'd end up seeing way more than that. But wow. Okay, back to building the house, but just thought I would share. So, literally at the end of that clip, I was showing you how there was lava right here. Like, I'm not even lying, this was just right here. 2 more. 3 more. 4 more. Oh no, hold on. Let's be careful here. But, my goodness. Hello. Okay, we're gonna get this one then. Wow. Wow. Oh, and there's more of a tunnel. Oh, this is mine. You're kidding me. I was mining through here the other day, and I was 2 blocks away. I have no words. Okay, now this time to the house. But for the next couple episodes, I actually do think I'll need to use a lot of the time in the next coming weeks to actually progress the amount of copper I currently have before we can finish this house. That will also give us a little bit of an opportunity to let this slowly degrade into the color that we want. Just trying to work through this in a way that we're able to have tiered planners here, but that they don't get necessarily in the way of anything else. I think we are going to want that, won't we? We just tried a little bit like this. It's kind of flat on this side, but I don't necessarily know if we want it going past the house on that. Oh yeah, that works. Hold on. Wait, we just had a big breakthrough here, because this works and this works. Do we add a third? Or do we put it in ground and then put mud or something along here? Actually, let's do that. Oh, we could go back to the brown mushroom blocks, actually. I need to figure out a way to make sure that we don't have mobs jumping up here, because last night, in-game, I tried to sleep, and a zombie just wandered up, just came to see me, have a good time, and I was not having a good time. I was not happy to see him, but he was very excited to see me. Let's replace that. Okay, okay. And I'm using my Silk Touch for quite literally no reason there. It's perfect. I mean, I love these two blocks together. Expect quite a bit of that going forward. Although at ground level here, I feel like we need to go back to the mud blocks. Yeah, we may, right? To really define this area a little bit. Have it... Ooh, that's going to stick out a little bit, won't it? I don't know if we want it that far. We could also break it up a little bit with stairs, so you can tell where the beginning and the end of this is. Although I don't know if I love that texture. You won't see a whole lot of that though, so there's potential that that's okay. And I do feel like it looks a little bit better rounded off with the stairs. There's just enough of a difference there, actually. I didn't think there would be, but I was wrong. We're going to bring this straight back. I think I'm going to have it die into this. Which means we once again don't have a crafting table on us. That is fine. We'll just crawl under here to this little space that I'll probably turn into something more interesting than that at some point. Let's round that off and quickly tear out this grass. Put some more moss in. I'm going with the moss because it's just happy, and it goes so well with the mud. We'll bring in some jungle leaves. Oh, you know what we could do here? I have some sugarcane ready because I thought that might be kind of a unique, fun little piece. What if we take this one out here, and that's where the water goes? We do that. Bring the sugarcane around. Can plant it here and here. Then let's grab those couple pieces of string we got from earlier. Make sure it doesn't grow any further, although you're gonna kind of see that. Maybe not from back here. It looks like I just did it, which, you know, like it looks like no thought was put into it, which is kind of true. That's okay. Maybe we'll come back to this. Maybe this will be something we figure out later down the line, where we can add in further amounts of work so it doesn't look just so... Yeah, I don't know. Either way, we're pretty well there, I think, as far as the house goes. So I think this is where we're about to wrap up today's episode. And let's think. Oh, yeah. I'm actually loving the start of this house. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, and I'm not sure how other people will, but I believe it has a lot of potential if we do this right. And I'll probably add in a little bit more of the gradient up there. I think it needs some more texture. Yeah, that part's sticking out like a sore thumb. Additionally, all the copper that is just bright needs to deteriorate a little bit so I can actually wax it and keep that first exposed layer of copper. Because I think it fits the green a lot better. I know I've mentioned that a couple times in today's episode, but I hope that works. Either way, thank you ever so much for watching. I'm excited to see how this turns out, and I'm excited to see how the series continues. Be sure to check out everyone else on the server now that we have FQ along here. There are 3 other people creating videos, and actually, there was a day, 2 days ago, I believe, from the time you're seeing this, or maybe long before that. But all three of them released an episode within like 20 hours of each other, which is awesome. I love to see that, and it makes me quite happy. So be sure to check everyone else out, and otherwise, I will see you in the next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.